would say climate change is kind of the long-term change in temperatures, weather, water. It's like major changes, it's noticeable. I think that over time it's gotten like more rapid, and people are starting to realize that it is time to take action. I think for a while it was ignored, but now people are realizing it's a bigger issue. I think there's hope to fix it. My name is Madeline Mitchell, I'm 16. I've lived here my whole life and my dad grew up here. So Mike Mitchell Farms is a third-generation farm. Right now we grow mostly potatoes. We grow some cover crops for animals to graze on and that kind of thing. We used to grow barley and quinoa, but we don't do as much of any of those grains now. It's harder to sell and it takes more money, so. I used to come and work with my dad all the time, and I still like to be a part of harvest and seed cutting and all the big stuff. It's fun to be around and help out. I would say the San Luis Valley is a really big agriculture community, so it's been hard. Everyone has to change practices and work with each other to kind of help mitigate the impact and make a change. What impacts our farm the most is water. Not even just our farm, but this whole valley struggles with drought and changes in how much water we're able to use and that kind of thing. We've used a lot less water in the past few years to kind of help and do our part to mitigate the impact. There's been some changes in what crops we grow, but an example of something we stopped doing is growing barley, because it takes a whole lot more water than a lot of other crops. I think one of the biggest things that we're doing around here is reducing our water use or using soil probes. It's got a little sensor on the top and they kind of stick it in and it measures the water content and reads out. It can measure a ton of things, nutrients, water. We're trying to improve soil health just to make sure we're using as little water as we can and trying to kind of give back to the environment a little bit with that little water use so that we can keep more water in the river and flowing down, keep it into our aquifer. A healthy soil helps hold the water a lot better. So you're watering crops and instead of all the water evaporating away, it's able to hold in the soil and keep our crops wet for longer. So people are holding themselves accountable by paying more for the water that they use. And there's lots of programs. There's a program where people grow cover crops and then other ranches bring their cattle or sheep to come graze on those cover crops. And so that saves money, or saves water and money for feeding those animals just on crops that were gonna be tilled in or not used. What gives me hope is a lot of people are more willing to take part in these programs and hold themselves accountable and not just do what's best for them, but what's best for the neighboring farms and ranches and their community. I feel like climate change is discussed negatively a lot in the media and in extremes. It's really easy to spread misinformation on social media and things. I think one of the biggest things is it gets pinned a lot on agriculture when really there's blame on everyone. So I think one of the biggest ones is our emissions. Scientifically, ag has one of the biggest carbon emissions, but I don't think people realize how much ag encompasses. They think that that's just the farm, and instead of from farm to table, all the production in between. And they don't realize that farmers are doing their best, and so is everyone along the way to get them to where their food's on the table. It takes a lot of steps, so it's not just farmers and ranchers that count for agriculture. So for potatoes specifically, we get our potatoes to the warehouse, and the warehouse runs them, packs them, and then someone has to truck it to distributors. Sometimes we'll truck them directly to stores or sometimes to other facilities. We run a lot of our potatoes through other people's warehouses, and then there's production for French fries, it needs to go to a factory to get cut, or to make hash browns or anything like that adds another step to the process. I think it's really important to stay educated about your community specifically and everywhere. That's going to help people make a difference. If you know and you're trying to spread information, you need to make sure that you're educated so that you can educate other people properly, so that they can spread it to their families, and then their families can spread it to their friends, and it kind of has a chain reaction. So FFA does a lot for ag education. That's their big thing, is spreading ag education. To be an FFA, you don't have to have an ag background. FFA is a nonprofit organization that's focused on preparing youth for careers in agriculture. We have leadership development events that give us our employability, soft skills, and then career development events that help us with specific job skills. My CDE is field crops, so I'm learning all about agronomy. I've learned that how big of a community that agriculture is, with the community service opportunities we get and the people who help us out. It's really cool to see how tight-knit of a community we are.